Okay, so that should work. Hello, everyone. And we're back. Hello, Anna. Hello, Claudia. Hello, Elisa. Hello, Cheryl. Good morning, Claudia. Hello, Sandy. Well, it's good to see you. I don't know what happened yesterday, but I think I was certainly down on Facebook, and I think everybody else came down on Facebook. So I think it'll be pretty good today. Um, it's good to have you here. Thank you. Hello, Giovanni Chow. What we're going to be going over is the watercolor grounds. There's some really good questions. Last time, I do have the opera pink, Anna. I do have the lunar black, Claudia. So we'll play with mixing. I'll show you some of the things that I've done. And then we'll go through the grounds. Grounds are they're very easy to understand, but their use really is up to the imagination. So hello, and I'm going to flip this down. So I'm going to go over some of the questions that were asked. They were really good questions. This, by the way, is the Mccracken Black. I've been asked about this more than one time. So Mccracken Black, right there. That's what it looks like. And hello, Victoria. The Mccracken Black is a light fastness of 1, which means 100 plus years. The staining is 2, low staining, which means it can be pulled off with only a very light stain being noticed. It does have slight granulation. You can see that right in here, very slight granulation. It has multiple pigments, probably the most amount of pigments. It has Prussian blue, transparent brown oxide, carbazole violet, quinacridone red, anthracanoid red, nickel azo yellow, and perylene scarlet. My chemist and Lauren worked back and forth, making sure that it matched the black that he wanted. This is a black that's easily warmed up and also cooled down. It's a Series 2, and that's kind of the information about the Mccracken Black. You've asked more than one time, so there it is. Marketing also wanted me to tell you that in California, Nevada, Arizona, there are stores that actually have the watercolor chart. If you go into those stores, you can get them. And I will put that link, if it's not already up, I'll put that on so you can see it. Marketing also has now a flippable color chart. So I know one of the issues was you couldn't print the color chart out. Now with this new version, you can easily print it out. So that will be going up either today or tomorrow. Okay. Oh, Nancy says, I saw it was available at Blick now and sold out. It's popular. We're really trying to get it out there. But again, we only go through retailers and distributors. Okay, some of the questions about the ground. The ground is a surface prep. It's way to think about it is paper in a jar. And this is the black ground. So I've been showing this probably for several months. This is the black ground right here. Mars Black. And just so you know, Mars Black is the same as Lunar Black. Lunar Black and Mars Black are the same thing. Okay. So we'll be playing with that today. I asked my chemist how she does this, and she thins the Mars Black out with a little tiny bit of water. Again, no more than 10%. And that makes for this absolutely smooth, smooth surface. And right away, if you've been with me for a while, you know, because we can see the color over the white-sized paper, we know that this is an iridescent. If it was invisible, it'd be most likely an interference. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. We'll be painting over the top of those today. This right here is it's way more vibrant here in front of me. This is titanium white with quinacridone gold. Quinacridone gold is transparent. I mixed it in with the titanium white and put it over a board. And this right here is the iridescent gold. That's iridescent gold. And we'll go ahead and play with that a little bit today. Again, iridescent gold is not one that you would want to tint. You would lose its vibrancy. But we'll play with the titanium. Titanium's great for fixing mistakes, for example. So the watercolor ground has water, and that water has to flash off. It has a coalescing agent, so the water has to flash off. So if you put it on a board, it's fantastic to put on anything, board, metal, glass, etc. If you put it on a cardboard, and the cardboard can take moisture, some of the moisture from the ground can go into the cardboard. The interesting thing that's not going to happen when you use a sized paper, because you already have a water barrier. Hi, Janie. The store's probably not going to open up for quite some time. We can't open up fully. Seattle's kind of in the cusp of going back into another surge, very close to it. And we can't operate on 30% occupancy. So this right here is board. And I just put one coat, so you can kind of slightly see the design I covered over. Again, this is just one thin coat. If I put another coat on, it'd be gone. On this side right here, I put a little bit of I don't know if you can see it, hard to see, but I took my foam brush and I pulled up so you can kind of see a design. But what I want to show you, and I'll do this live here in a second, is how tight, there's no spidering, right? That your line holds really, really crisp. There's no spidering in the watercolor. Spidering, it doesn't follow down and call these little lines. It doesn't cause this right here. This is spidering. Okay, this is sized paper. This is watercolor paper, and this is spidering. You'll see on the ground there is no spider. They're very, 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 very tight, crisp lines. Claire, can I ask a question about, Claire, can I ask a question about the watercolors with sparkly bits? The watercolors with sparkly bits are the mica, yep, and they can either be in the Primatech or they can be in the luminescent colors. Both of them would have it. I took a picture to be scanned, printed, and they were worried it would scratch their scanner. No, it won't scratch their scanner. Tried to convince them the bits were not glitter. Yep, you're absolutely correct. Can you give me something to explain it? That will not scratch their scanner. Yeah, let me think about that, Claire. The interesting with watercolor, it's one of those really, it's a beautiful medium in that you can actually see the pigment. Once the water goes away, what you're left with really is the pigment. But if you're using the luminescence, which I believe you're talking about, probably the easiest way to have them do would be to feel it. The human finger is really fantastic at being able to figure out sizes, and they just rub their finger on it slightly. Or if you can give them something, just a piece of paper where you put the watercolor on it and have it dry, and if they rub their finger across it, one, they would feel there's no grit, and two, they could look at their finger and they could see there's nothing on their finger. That might alleviate their hesitancy. Hello, Finland. Okay, so another one that I did, and then we'll mix colors, is the titanium white. So this is titanium white. Yep. One coat of titanium white. This is titanium. This is actually buff. This is buff. It gets so close to what you're able to tint. So this is my buff, and this is the titanium white with quinacridone gold. Here's the black. This is the black. The black, it just, because it's the lunar black, it just lays so flat. And again, I put the lines on. You can see that they're really super. How to get that to you? I'll do it this way. They're super, super tight. They're super tight lines. And here is the buff, and I put some, I believe this is Pyro Orange. And again, you can see how tight the line is. I also played with the Pearlescent. This is the Pearlescent. This is one coat of Pearlescent. And I put the Pyro Orange over the top of it. So you can see the Pearlescent underneath it. Goes right through, you can see it. So if you use a transparent, you can actually see the, again for clear, this is the, you can see the mica underneath it. Okay, and then let me show you the last. And then we'll do some mixing and playing. Here, what I did yesterday, before Facebook cut me off, this is the transparent watercolor ground. This is not. So you can see here it is not, and here it is. I can still read every single thing underneath it and see all the words. And now I can actually put watercolor on this so we can actually watch it. And then on the back side of it, I just put the first layer of gold. Now this is really smooth. It's going to take me more than one layer to do this. So I brought, somebody wanted something for a blue sky, so I brought some cobalt blue. I have the opera pink. I have the pearlescent, so we can play on that black with the pearlescent. And I have some other colors that we can play with. Judy says, under what circumstances would a transparent be used? Kind of up for you. It's that creative journey. If you wanted to, if you had a book, say you had a child and you had a book, you could put a transparent over some of the words and do a drawing. So if it was Goldilocks or Three Bears, you could do the Three Bears so they could actually tie the Three Bears and you could actually still read all the words. There's just lots of things you could do with them. These are really good cookies. Yeah. Really, really good cookies. How quickly does it dry? This is Diane, 24 hours. You don't want to use a hair dryer. The watercolor ground has a coalescing agent. It's a polymer, and you want that polymer to come together and then fuse. And if you use a heat, you can actually dissipate that water too fast, and you won't get that fusing. Okay, so 24 hours is a really good rule of thumb. Hello, Angela. Are the grounds for watercolors only? It's where you're going to get the bang for the buck, is that they're used for watercolor. Oils and acrylics, you can put just about anything. So your bang for the buck is to use them for grounds. Use them for watercolor. Can you put oil on top of it? Yes. You would just be not using, it would be not the best use of your money. Sandy says, do you have full pans as well as half pans? Right now, Sandy, only half pans. How do granulating colors look? We're going to see that today. Will the ground destroy your brushes? It's the same kind of, it's a polymer, so it'd be almost similar to what you use on your house. I tried to use this roller and absolutely sucked up all of the ground, and it wasn't the best choice. So my choice so far is the foam brushes. I bought 9 of these. I bought a pack of 9, big pack of 9. It costs $5. So they're pretty inexpensive. And then tip, Doris says, I have stopped using foam brushes as they're not biodegradable. Instead, I use the cheap wood bristle ones from the hardware store and wrap it in foil overnight. It's a really, really good suggestion, Doris. My chemists use bristle brushes. You don't want to use a good bristle brush. You can find them quite inexpensive at the hardware store. So Doris has a really good suggestion here. Thank you, Doris. Wen says, can I mix Dana Smith watercolor in the ground to change the color? Absolutely. We'll bring it today. The rule of thumb is 10% watercolor and no more than 20% acrylic if you want to use acrylic. And while you can thin it with water, you don't want to thin it with water and tint it, right? Because you're going to destabilize it. That's just too much. So it's 10% water or 10% watercolor or it's 20% acrylic. Okay. Does look like frosting. So Mikhail says, black watercolor ground is so awesome. I use it to paint my plastic plant pots. All right, with metallic watercolor. Just add some clear acrylic paint to make it waterproof. Very nice. Thank you, Mikhail. This is from James. Good points. Thank you, James. Since substrate like wood has acidic properties, it has lignin, so lignin is acidic, should you first apply some type of polyurethane? So if we look at the wood here, anything that's on top of the ground is going to be archival. What's underneath it, the wood, not going to be because it has lignin. And so that's really your choice. Kind of your choice. The lignin is not going to penetrate the ground. It's not going to go through. It's not going to go up into the ground. So anything on top is going to be safe. It doesn't mean that over time, this wood won't change colors, etc., because it probably would. Sponge or brush to apply. You don't need to use a wet brush or a wet sponge to apply. You can use a dry brush. A sponge is more, when I've seen sponges, so this can be dry too, and I'm going to do some here so you can watch. Let me bring this up so you can see more. And you can use a sponge if you want, or even one of these to give designs if you want to give designs. All right. So now, why would add acrylic if you want to put watercolor on the ground? That's a good. So Christina says, why would you add acrylic if you want to put watercolor on the ground? So the watercolor ground is itself a polymer, right? So there's acrylic polymers and acrylic latex. This is an acrylic polymer that's been modified. So watercolor can penetrate it. So it acts just like a watercolor paper. It is safe to use up to 20% by volume of an acrylic to tint it if you want to tint it. You can tint it with watercolor by using 10%. So you can use 10% by volume of a watercolor. I'm going to kind of show you that here today. Or you can use 20% if this were an acrylic. All right? Good question. Okay, so let's play. And I bought these at the store. These are, they look like Dr. Tongue depressors, but they were at the hardware store. Instead of ruining my spoons, this whole thing is 99 cents. And easier to use these to mix with than a spoon. So I thought that was pretty interesting. All right. Well, let me show you just, we'll put a little bit of watercolor on this transparent piece, and then we'll start mixing. So if I'm going to use the quinacridone. This is Quinacridone Sienna because quinacridones are transparent. If you put opaque, you're gonna undo the value of the transparency. So let me put a little bit of Quinacridone Sienna. Let's see what that looks like. So I only put one coat of this down, so you can kind of see there's a little bit of lines here where I hit with my brush. I'd want to put another coat so it would be smooth, but you can still see. I'm going to just put a bunch of it on there so you can kind of see. So I can still read. It's the transparent is on there. Again, I'd want to put a second coat to really make it cover well. I believe in small coats because you can do several small coats versus a big coat. But I can read the Davids underneath it. I can still see the Davids underneath it. And again, you could choose, if you use the cobalt, some of those are very, very light colors, and so, all right. Okay. So let's try the opera pink. Now I brought, oh, let me show you this too, because somebody had asked about this. This right here is this is the Gesso, interference gold Gesso. Don't want to use this for watercolor unless you want to play around, but it's not made for watercolors. There was some questions asked about it, so I just wanted to show it to you. And you can see that the iridescent gold in the Gesso is the same as the iridescent gold in the watercolor ground. This is the one you want to use, the watercolor ground, if you're using watercolors. Okay? But I thought I would just show that to you since I'm asked about that so often. Over here. So I have titanium white here, and transparent. All right. Let me put a piece of paper down. It's amazing. I try to be really careful, and by the end of doing this, I have it on my arms and my hands. Okay, so let's play with, I brought it for you. We'll do opera pink. So that's about, it's a dot, so it's probably touching this twice. So it's not a lot of pink compared to that. So probably less than 10%. I'm gonna mix it up here. This reminds me when I used to get my one, and I'm sure I'm gonna be able to do it again very soon here. When I used to get my hair cut, somebody would be in the sitting and getting ready to have their hair highlighted or changed, and they'd be almost the same kind of thing. The back room, gloves, and mixing the different colors around. So this is what, let me get that. So a brush would work better. But I think you're going to get the idea here. So there we go. That is much pinker here than it is on the screen. And I think when we do this again, it'll probably be a couple months, I will go buy some bristle brushes. I like that idea. There we go. There we go. Oh yeah. Yeah. So Giovanni says you can use similar with old yogurt packs, so the yogurt cups. Yeah, absolutely. And if I brought this in really quickly right now and washed it, it would wash out and it'd be absolutely clean. By the time I'm done doing this, it's going to be dry. Okay. Oh, I get these from my chemist, but usually big box hardware stores would have something very similar. But these I just get from my chemist. Yes, we make acrylics, and I mean, we used to make acrylics, and we do make some gesso. Okay, so there is the opera pink. Much more pink here in front of me than on the screen. And I found that if you do it pretty quickly, you can reuse your brushes. It will come out. So it'll come off your brush. If you leave your brush for a couple of hours, it'll just get, if you don't take it off and you leave your brush, it'll just get rock hard. But they clean up pretty well. Okay. Kathy says Dollar Tree, and we have those everywhere here in the US, has clear little square trays that I use to mix paint. All right, so let's try, Claudia was asking about the, let's try Lunar Black. Lunar Black or Mars Black, right here. So let's try that. And kind of clean that off. Okay. Show you how much I put there. Kind of, maybe if I do it to the side, you can kind of see it's not much. It's a little dot. Oh, Bangkok. Really loved my trip to Bangkok. Thailand, you have a beautiful country. Okay, so this is the Lunar Black. Now, if I wanted a darker black or the darkest black, I'd be using the lamp black. And then so there's lamp black, which is the darkest black for us anyway. There's ivory black, which has that beautiful kind of yellow hue to it. And then there's the lunar black or Mars black. And then for natural blacks, you have the tourmaline, which is a Primatech. So Claudia, what this kind of looks like, it's a very pretty gray. It looks like a very pretty gray. I'm trying to get that white off of my little mixer here. Okay. So now let's try that. Yeah, it does a good coverage for one layer. Now this is the back side of my watercolor paper, so it's sized on both sides. So I think if you're going to do wood, while you can put this directly on wood, you might actually be able to prime the wood. I will ask about that. I'm sure you could. I know you could, but I will ask it anyway, because that would make it super smooth, just like this. That's one of the reasons the coverage is so good on this. Is show you how much of that I have on there. Might be interested. Oh, there we go. First thing on my arm. Okay. Let me do this. There we go. Yeah, so that's the whole paper. It does it pretty good. And I still have stuff left in my little handy dandy cup. Okay, so a pretty good amount. Hello, Melanie. Hello, Anna. Hello, Misha. Okay, so there is the Lunar Black, kind of a really pretty gray. So you're not going to have that granulation. You just, with this acrylic, took that out. You're not going to have it. And this is the Opera Pink. So another thing that I was asked about was blue. So why don't we try some blue? We'll try the Indanthrone blue, And we'll try a cobalt blue. And then I thought we'd try a quin red. If we use the phthalo, again, some of you have said this, it's going to be intense. I think intense in a good way. And then we'll try mixing a little bit of our ground with water. Again, no more than 10%, that 10% magic rule. So let's try, let's try the Indanthron first. Oh, Sarasota. Hello, Tanya. Sarasota's. I am really looking forward to being able to get out and see people again. It'd be nice to see you. That's not too far away. So I'm just doing that dot, so easily I think I'm under the 10% rule there. And this is going to be Indanthron blue. Indanthron blue. How does watercolor fare on smooth rocks? You know, it works really well on rocks. Yeah. There's quite a few I've seen painting on rocks, so it works really well. And I guess if you wanted to tint, you could, if you use titanium white, it's going to look like it has titanium white, of course, because rocks usually aren't that white in nature. But I guess if you wanted to, you could also tint. Oh, here, let me show you what I'm doing here. You could also tint. Again, not more than 10%, but I must say, that is fun. Okay. Oh, I'd look forward to that, Gabrielle. Okay, so where's my little, I need another brush. I'm going to have plenty of them. So this is a blue. This is Indanthron blue. And that's certainly thicker than I would normally do. But I just want to use it all up. So I think next week I may not be online because I'm moving. And I think all of you have been through the moving process. I don't know if I'll be able to set a place to work by next week. But when I do come back, we're going to go over the pans. We'll go over some of the sets. And then please leave me, if there's something you're interested in seeing, let me know. So there's blue. There's the blue. And I'm going to clean this brush off a little bit here. try to get the cobalt to work on it. Okay. Okay, now that I have that brush kind of clean, let's do this real quick. I want to put some of the titanium white in here. Okay. And then, how am I going to do this? Whoops. I'm going to put a little bit of water. I mean, can you see that? It's probably 2 or 3 drops. I'm going to put that in there. What I'm going to do is we're going to thin it down a little bit. You don't have to, but you can. Now, once I do this, I can't tint it because I can thin it down by 10%. I can add the watercolor to tint it by 10%, or I can add the acrylic to tint it by 20%, but I can only choose one of the 3. Okay, so now let's try that. Is the Wi-Fi that you have, I believe, so what I've worked out with Comcast here in Seattle is that it's just going to be able to switch right over. Oh my gosh, that is really smooth. I know it's hard to see that over the screen, but I'll hold it up to you. I still have some of the Danthron blue inside of my brush. Oh yeah, that's actually pretty good. All right, I'm gonna get the rest of it out just because I want to tint. There we go. And then I'll hold this up so you can see it maybe better. That's already, that right there has just been done. Okay. All right. Hello, Juliet. Well, grandsons take precedent. Grandsons and granddaughters take precedent. So I hope you had some fun with them. All right. So I thought what we'd do is try some we could try the Quinn. I have Quinn Rose. Oh, let me try the Cobalt because I was asked about how to use them for Scott. So I'm going to start actually. I'm going to do this in reverse. Okay. Yeah, it's crazy about the prices of real estate worldwide. It's just, and even if you want to remodel, if you want to put uh, cement in, or it's, I think everybody, just because they've been home for so long, has said now's the time for me to make that change in my bedroom or my kitchen. So it's hard getting materials, it's hard getting people. So there is the cobalt right there in the bottom. And I thought I would just do it in reverse. And now I'm going to put the titanium white over the top of it. And so I just know that's easily way more than 10%. And I'm going to play with that. Now you could use your own color, whatever color you thought or think might do a really very nice skyscape. Yeah, my move is not so bad as I'm only 4 houses away from where I'm moving. So it's just timing though. That kind of looks more like a lighter sky kind of blue. Okay, that's not a brush I want to use. Oh. We've had this product for, boy, many years. Over a decade. We're always asked, well, can you bring out in this color, bring it out in that color? And I was talking to Ron, my chemist, and said, is there a way that the artist just can do it themselves? So, they don't have to buy a blue and a red and a green, etc. I said, yeah, they can just tint it. So the neat thing about tinting is you get a tube of paint that you can use whenever you want, and you can also get the color, kind of a designer color, and you're the designer getting exactly what it is you want. Okay, there's the blue. So that to me is more of a sky blue. Let me show you the two. Take this out of here. So cobalt blue and danthrone. Cobalt and danthrone. Does it come in a tube? No, it just comes in it just comes either in 4 ounce or 16 ounce. 4 ounce or 16 ounce. No, you don't have to use gloves, Anna. Just, to me, these have no latex in them, and it's just easy to just take off. But just like this would come off your hands, you could wash it off. I'm just a fan of protecting your skin. Okay, so there is the blue. Let me put this out here like that. There it is. Okay, let's see. Let's try the quinacridone. Let's try the quinacridone red. Actually, it's quinacridone rose. But the rose, the red, and the violet quinacridone, all PV19. So let's try the quinacridone rose. Okay. Okay, and I put a little dot of it in the bottom. And so from yesterday and from today, and my doing a couple of other pieces to show you, I've used half of this 4 ounce. I still have probably that much left. So it goes a long way. Yeah, it'd be very similar to house paint because it's an acrylic. So I think next week or the week after, I'm going to ask it. So it's important to me that I'm being able to meet your needs. I would like to start doing the water-soluble oils because I think as artists, you might find it really interesting. It doesn't require any type of solvent. It's water-soluble, so might be very interesting for you to see. Is the purpose of using the watercolor ground so you can use less paint? No. So Veronica, the only reason to use the watercolor ground is for you to be able to create a 3-dimensional surface to paint on, or for you to put over the top of wood, hardboard, metal, etc. So you can look at a meal box and say, I want to paint that meal box. You could put the ground on the meal box, and now you could paint watercolor on the meal box. Let's see, Santana moved from oils to watercolors when we started a family. Yeah, I had a lot when we came out with oils. We came out with inks first, and then we came out with oils, traditional oils, linseed. And then over the years, a lot of our staff, when they came out of college, started having families. And so it was one of their recommendations about having an oil that you wouldn't have to use solvents with. So we came out with the water-soluble oils. Same linseed, but it's been modified. It's been modified to work with water. So no need for solvents, etc. And universities seem to like that as well because they wanted to move away from solvents. I mean, like anything, solvents are certainly safe if you take the precautions. I think none of us are going to be hesitant to wear masks anymore since we've worn them for almost a year now. Wearing one for 20 minutes probably is not going to be an issue. And whenever you're working with something you're sanding, etc., it's just prudent. Okay, so that's the Quin Red. Here in front of me, it is not that off. It is not that off from the Opera. It's a little bit darker of a pink, but actually pretty close to that Opera. In fact, why don't I just put it next to the Opera? So I need another brush. Danthron is the base of nude, yes, indigo. Cotton candy. Yeah, it does seem like a cotton candy color. So we'll put it right here next to the opera pink. Okay, opera pink, Quin Rose. And again, if I wanted to, I could put shapes. I could give it like that. If I wanted to lift it up, I could put shapes into it. Or I could take it out. Does the light facet from opera change when you mix it with the ground? That's a really good question. It's not, so what the light is penetrating on the opera pink, which is this top level. Let's see if I can do this here. So as the light's hitting this top level, it's going to be fugitive. So over time, it's going to go away. But underneath it, you're going to have the quinacridone underneath it, because this does have has quinacridone, will stay. But this is 100 plus years. So you might want to see which one you like. I mean, again, it's artist choice. You all have a vision in your minds as what you want to create, and that the color has to speak to you. I kind of like that lunar black that you were talking about, Claudia. It's a really pretty. You lose the granulation. You don't see that at all. But it is a really pretty gray. And you wouldn't expect to see it because this right here is Mars black, and Mars black is lunar black. So, and you don't see the granulation here. It's absolutely a flat black. It's very, very, very pretty. Looks like a color people buy for Holbein. Does your light? Is it okay to mix the black watercolor ground and white acrylic to have a gray background for my watercolor paintings? Mix black watercolor ground and white acrylic. You could do that, no more than 20% though. Remember, the rule for acrylic is no more than 20%. And you could also get gray from using, this is kind of a really pretty gray here in front of me, and that's just using lunar black and the titanium white. So you do the watercolor and use 10%, or you can use the acrylic and use 20% by volume. Can you do, oh, you know what? Absolutely. I think because I wanted to see it as well. There we go. Good minds think alike. That's Moonglow. Okay, so yes, absolutely. We can do Moonglow. So Moonglow has 3 pigments: anthraquinoid red, ultramarine blue, and viridian. Is that Moonglow? I'm going to have to get my other... Boy, I just put way too much. I don't have that much titanium. Okay, need to do a dot. I put way too much, but that's kind of a dot. And the pink is from my pink rag, so it has a little bit of the Quin red, but I don't think that's going to matter too much. And Okay, we'll use a different brush. Yeah. So it's not going to have the granulation. So granulating color, what I've seen is you're not going to get the granulation. Now you could, yeah, you're not going to get the granulation. But that's okay. What you're doing is you're trying to create a surface. So then if I put the moon glow over this surface, the moon glow is going to granulate. So it won't granulate inside of the ground because the acrylic is not going to allow that. However, this is a surface prep, if you will. It's going to be acting like a watercolor paper. So when I put my, I don't know where it went. When I put my moon glow paint over the top of this, my moon glow paint is going to granulate. So this will granulate as a paint over the surface. I do my own LFT on other pigments that I purchase. Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. All right, so let's see what that looks like. It kind of looks like a very, kind of looks like a lavender. Somewhat like a lavender. I used this for doing black a couple of days ago, and I washed it and did a pretty good job. Yeah, it's almost like a, here in front of me anyway, it's like a lavender. It's kind of pretty. There we go. So very, like a lavender, and then the lunar black. The lunar black is this really kind of pretty kind of gray. Yeah, it does. Like a stormy sky. Well, awesome. Great questions. Thank you so much for asking the questions. When I do come back, we'll go over the pans. I'll go over the pans with you. I'll go over the, I brought it with me. We'll go over the walnut ink. Walnut ink. We'll go over that. We'll look at the masking fluid. Just so you asked me this quite a bit, it's a good question. When using masking fluid, you always want to use masking fluid on a dry surface. If you use it on a wet surface, as soon as you wet the paper, those little fibers are going to come loose, and if you put the masking fluid over it, it's like an adhesive. When it dries and you pull that masking fluid off, you're going to tear those little tiny hairs along with some of your paint. So you want to use it on a dry surface. All right, so thank you all so very much for being with me. I really appreciate it. You've made this year just really, it's been really enjoyable. It's nice working with colors, reading your messages. I like how you interact with each other. So thank you so very, very much. I will do everything possible to be back next week, if not certainly the week after that. So thank you all. I wish you health and happiness, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.